Hi guys, Gimmmeaflakeman here. So I thought I'd make a response to Victor Gimmmeaflakeman's video about disabled children in Japan. I'm no expert on developmental disabilities really, but I have some knowledge about this. It's always been my own, and so link to the video below. I'm not going to give it a complete précis, but Victor got a question from a viewer about how people with developmental disorders are treated in Japan and whether they're treated in mainstream education. I think the short answer really is it depends on the disability. It's certainly true that it used to be the case that if you were registered disabled, then the state would make many efforts to basically keep you out of the mainstream. It's telling that even my wife with cerebral palsy, this is back in the 1980s now, my mother had to fight quite hard to keep her within education, and that was just for, well, she could read, write, walk, and mostly talk. Cerebral palsy affects her face. So, yeah, that's certainly not. It's not the case that now. And for developmental disabilities, yes, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, technically, everyone has the right to a mainstream education, and I do actually know personally a couple of people with Asperger's, Japanese people, who have made it through high school. I'd like to think these days that they do go on a more individual case-by-case basis, but certainly there's still people go into social care more than care programs, into community care programs, rather than into mainstream education. But I do truly think that maybe the culture of shame is beginning to decrease when it comes to being the worst thing in the world for your son or daughter to have a developmental disorder. I think that's beginning to lessen. However, I do know one person again who basically became what I suppose the Americans call an emancipated minor in order to escape their family, because the family basically rejected them. So that's quite sad. So again, with this question, how are they treated? How are people with developmental disorders treated? It's tricky. I wouldn't want to make any sort of universalizing statement, except to say that it's becoming more common that people might be able to stay in the mainstream depending on what particular disorder they have. But yeah, efforts are still not efforts, but at least the instinct usually is to take them out of the mainstream. Partly because severe Down syndrome, you really can't. But I'm no expert. The education system would say that they have a duty to provide an education, and if they can't understand, they're failing in that duty. But I don't know what you think about that. Certainly, I still believe that many people, and this is not just in Japan, but all over the world, many people are always pushed aside sometimes a bit too quickly because it just makes life easier for someone. But I think in general, the situation is improving in Japan, just still very slowly.